Dodgers have lost 3 of the last 4. There are concerns, but it's not time to panic. Let's talk about it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. This is the daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening and watching every day, and you can make that easier by subscribing and get notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are here on Monday night. If this is your first time listening and watching, welcome. I'm Vince Samperio. That's Jeff Snider. And we've been doing Locked On Dodgers since 2019. We've been covering the Dodgers for longer than that in our own respective ways, and we've been Dodger fans our whole lives. So we've seen a lot of Dodgers, and sometimes the Dodgers are frustrating even when their teams are really good. And, Jeff, we're in the midst of that frustration right now, losing 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, it's a rough stretch for sure. These things happen in every baseball season. There's always rough stretches, and it seems like the fan response is always the same too. The sky is falling. It's, here's all the problems about this team that I've been worried about and I've been saying, and the front office isn't smart enough to do anything about it, even though I told them. And, it's, fact is baseball's hard, and sometimes the other team wins. Sometimes the pitcher gets the best of the hitters. And, that's just kind of how baseball goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in terms of like what's wrong with the team, especially on this stretch and in general. And, some people could say there were underlying concerns even when they started the season off, undefeated. But ultimately, it's April 7th. I'm not going to be worried about it right now. There are things that are concerning if they continue down that road. One of those things is Dustin May and the lack of strikeouts, but not the way Dustin May competed and pitched on Monday. He gave the Dodgers some length, which they really needed, going 6 innings. But the issue was he only struck out one National, and the Nationals are one of the highest, if not the highest strikeout team in
That's
baseball.
what Joe Davis said anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so, Jeff, I mean, we talked about it with Glasnow yesterday and kind of the pitchers and, maybe just weather, whatever the case. Dustin May's velocity was down a little bit, nothing like that's insanely concerning, especially considering the fact that he is working on not always going full bore and trying to be a little bit better of a pitcher. But, sacrificing the strikeouts for maybe a little bit of length, is that what you think this was? Do you think it's concerning? Do you think there's an issue?
Yeah, obviously you prefer strikeouts because what we see here, we're going to talk in the next segment specifically about the defense, but, anytime you don't strike out the batter, there's a chance, and people talk about that all the time, like when you're talking about your own team's offense, like just put the ball in play, maybe something good will happen. It's a true fact. Yeah. Only 70% or only 30% of balls in play turn into hits, but then there's also that 4% that turns into getting on an error, or the 6% that turn into sac flies, all these things that, it all adds up to, it's better putting the ball in play. And so the flip side of that as a pitcher is it's a lot better not letting the other team put the ball in play. And with Dustin May's stuff, we talked after his last start about how nice it was to see him getting strikeouts because that's the one part of his game that's been missing. In this game, he didn't. And it's just one game. That's my thing. It's like, we can talk about it and, we can kind of say, if he's only striking out one batter a game for the next 8 starts, that's a concern. For one game, I don't know to be concerned because, I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if, the wet or the cold. I don't know if it's just that even though the Nats strike out a lot, they match up better against May's particular arsenal to put the bat on the ball. I don't know. Like, that's why the whole concept of don't make big judgments on small sample sizes exists, because you're when you are right, it's only going to be by accident.
Yeah, and with May, it's one of those where he's never been a strikeout guy. There was 1 year in his career where he had above average strikeout rate. Other than that, he's been, just okay at striking guys out. And that's always been, the question of why can he do it, or what it is. And we've seen the last 2 outings, one being an exhibition game, one being a real game, that he was able to, utilize his off speed a little bit more in order to get ahead. And maybe, that helps kind of set up the sequencing for the rest of the thing. And maybe he just couldn't get that today. Maybe he wasn't comfortable. He did throw the sweeper, the most pitches, tied with the sinker for his most pitches today. So he kept that part of it going, but he wasn't generating the swing and miss. Just 2 swings and misses entirely today, both on the sweeper. Not much on anything else. And yeah, it's like I said, it's one start. It's not ideal weather conditions. The Nationals were one of those days where it seemed like they were going to be annoying from the start, and they were annoying kind of throughout the game. And Dodgers pitching helped a little bit leaning into that. The defense helped a lot leaning into that. But he gave the Dodgers 6 innings, and he could have gone out for the 7th if they really wanted to push him, knowing that they have some uncertainty coming up, and knowing that they had a couple bad starts the last 2 days. But yeah, I think he's fine right now. And if you're going to give me 6 innings and I'm not going to have to question it, then I'm going to do that at the moment. And like I said, if moving forward, if there's more walks, if there's more hits, if there's more hard contact, then yeah, that's going to be an issue if you can't strike guys out.
Absolutely. And in hindsight, it's like, if we had known Anthony Bonda was going to pick today to have his first bad game of the season, then, there's all these things that you can look at in hindsight. Maybe you do leave Dustin May in, or you go with somebody else or whatever. But, the fact is it was, you kind of liked your chances there, especially because they were trailing in the game at the time. So you can't just go all in on winning the game when we're trailing, not in a April game that, in the middle of a 6-game road trip. You just can't do that. And so, yeah, for Dustin May, strikeouts or no, walks or no, we're going to talk in the third segment about walks, and that was an issue for him today a bit. But all in all, yeah, the results, 1 earned run, and even the 3 runs, even if all 3 runs have been earned, 3 runs in 6 innings, most of the time that's going to get this Dodgers team a win. And, again, the Dodgers ended up scoring 4 runs. If the bullpen had held things down, it would have been enough to win this game too. And so it's hard to ask for too much more from Dustin May, again, with the caveat that if he's still not striking guys out for a long stretch of time, then that'll become a concern.
Yeah. Staying on the pitching side real quick, Matt Sauer did pitch in this game. He's expected to be sent down. They're supposed to call up Justin Robleski to pitch in Tuesday's game. Landon Knack was also with the team in Washington, so we would expect him to pitch in Wednesday's game. And kind of what we mentioned yesterday, that they're just going to go with 2 guys that have length, that can pitch, deeper into the game, and hope that they can, give them 4 or 5 innings at the most, and not the most, at the least, and head into it with the bullpen, who has had some issues also.
Yeah, and that was clearly what was going on with Matt Sauer today. It was, hey, you're coming out for a 2nd inning because you're going back to the minor leagues tomorrow so that we can have Justin Robleski pitch. And then, by the way, Justin, you're going back to the minor leagues after that so that Landon Knack can pitch on Wednesday. It's that one roster spot that's going to pitch 3 straight days in 3 different bodies. And it's a situation there. And it's so hard with these East Coast road trips where the weather's terrible. Like, I don't know why I'm so grumpy about weather, but every year, like every time the Dodgers go back east, it's like, hey, how many rain delays can we have now? How bad can the conditions be? I remember that game at Wrigley Field last year when Gavin Stone allowed 5 runs, and at first they were all unearned, and then the scorekeeper said, well, we can't blame the defenders for having to play in a puddle, so they're all earned runs instead. Gavin Stone had a good year last year. It was actually better because those 5 runs got charged to him, and Bobby Miller pitching in Chicago, like, just get a dome or live somewhere with nice weather, people. It's pretty frustrating.
Yeah. So the defense was an issue on Monday. It's been an issue the last few games. We're going to get into it. Is there anything the Dodgers can do, or do they just have to be better? We'll get into that. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is the place to get in on the action, whatever sport it is that you want to get into. FanDuel is here to help you out, and they are available with FanDuel app. NBA playoffs are coming, and new customers can get in on the action with just a $5 bet. You place a $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. There are a lot of things to like about, $5 turning into $250. Go with the heavy favorite, get your $250, and then have some fun into the NBA playoffs and beyond. So go check out FanDuel. They got a lot going on. It's not just before game action. You can get in on the live action, which is really fun, keep you into games if you're not necessarily a fan of either team. So whatever it is, from 3-pointers to steals, so it says FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props, and you can put them on the same game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. And thank you for making Locked On Dodgers one of the listens of your day. First listen, last listen, whatever it is, we appreciate it. If you want to keep listening, you can check us out. We're here for you 5 days a week, normally Sunday night through Thursday night live, Monday through Friday. If you want to listen or watch the next day, whatever it is, we're here for you. And, if you're already on YouTube, you can check out the other Locked On MLB. And there's going to be a new Locked On live show on Mondays that we'll probably be a part of sometimes. So make sure to check that out.
I was part of it tonight. It's going to be up on our feed probably in the next couple hours, actually.
There you go. So go check out Jeff talking with the rest of the Locked On hosts about baseball and whatever's going on beyond the Dodgers. But we're going to stick to the Dodgers right now, and we're going to talk about the Dodgers defense because it once again let them down, and it seems like that's been something that's happened here in this stretch where they've been struggling. 2 errors charged to them, probably a couple other misplays that could have been errors with a tough grader or a normal grader, depending how you feel on certain things. But whatever it means in that regard, it means that the Dodgers aren't playing well on defense. They had no errors through the first 6 games, and I think they said on the broadcast 6 errors in the last 6 games. Jeff, is this an issue for the team or just one of those lapses that they've had in the past?
Yeah, right now for me, it's something to keep an eye on because – again, I know people are annoyed at how much Eric Karros mentioned the weather on the broadcast today, but it was cold and wet. It was raining all day at Nationals Park. The ground was wet. That Mookie Betts error, the ball didn't go where he expected to. He put his glove where he expected it to go, and the ball didn't go there. I don't know if that's because he misjudged it. I mean, obviously he misjudged it, but I don't know if he misjudged it because he misjudged it or misjudged it because the ball acted differently than it would have on dry ground. I don't know. And not to make excuses for Mookie. Yeah, that's a play that's got to be made for sure. But I would be more concerned if it was just him not knowing where to put his glove versus this is an abnormal situation early in the season. Obviously the Dodgers might play in bad weather in October. It's not, I'm not going to feel a ton better. Oh, the weather was bad. That's why they lost. That doesn't make me feel a ton better because I've seen plenty of games. I still remember the 2009 World Series between the Yankees and the Phillies where they're all wearing the hats with the earmuffs. And I think they missed 2 days. They got rained out 2 days in a row and everything. There's going to be bad weather in October. So get better at it. But I'm not going to panic about it when it is just a few games. Because overall, I think there's a lot of confirmation bias going on right now. A lot of people who thought Mookie Betts shouldn't be at shortstop are saying, see, this proves that he shouldn't be at shortstop. Whereas all it really proves is that everybody does make some errors. And I don't expect Mookie to be perfect at shortstop yet, but I don't think they should give up on the experiment because of a couple bad games.
I don't think that it's time, to give up on Mookie by any means at shortstop. I do think that it's, the growing sentiment will always be on social, with every error or misplay or mistake or whatever it is, it's going to be like, okay, get him out of there, get him out of there, get him out of there. They're not there yet. And, there's a chance they could get there in the next month or so and maybe think like, okay, maybe this isn't working out or maybe we do need to try something else. And that'll kind of depend on a lot of other factors as well. Once Freddie Freeman's back, that opens up Kike to play some different positions instead of just, being at first base.
Which will help if Kike remembers how to hit.
Yeah. I mean, there's different factors here in terms of offense and defense, but, Kike being able to play center, or Kike being able to play second, or Kike, being able to play wherever is going to help out the overall, defense just in times when they have different lineups out there. And that's going to help out there. Freddie being back at first base will help out because, you don't have to worry about it too much. But there's definitely like a slight level of concern just with the defense, just in case of, why do they go through these types of lapses? And it's happened in the past. It happened last year where they had a stretch of like maybe 10 or so games where they made a bunch of errors. And, we had this similar conversation. And at that point, it was, we're never going to panic too much, especially early on in the season. But yeah, like you said, something to monitor and something to be like, okay, everyone maybe step up the game a little bit, and, maybe getting back to Dodger Stadium on Friday will help that out.
Yeah. And we knew there would be a learning curve for Mookie Betts at shortstop. I think that's the thing where I'm more willing than a lot of people to be patient with him, because I didn't come into it expecting him to be a Gold Glove shortstop. I'm saying if he can get to the point where he's an average defensive shortstop, he's one of the best shortstops in baseball because of his offense, because most shortstops can't hit the way Mookie Betts can. And so I am all for giving him the chance to become an average defensive shortstop, even if he's below average right now. And right now he is grading as below average because the fact is he hasn't had a ton of opportunities early in the season. Like, when you and I were talking about a few days ago, like you think of those first 6 or 8 games and it's like, there weren't that many balls hit to Mookie Betts, at least not challenging balls. Like he had some routine ground balls, but it's not like there were balls just out of his reach. There just weren't a lot of ground balls hit to shortstop or that area. And that's, defensive stats are so hard to measure because of that. It's all kind of, okay, well, how much, where's the ball hit? And you can only do with that. Obviously you would love if when it is hit to him, he would make the play like today, but also, yeah, it's going to be a work in progress for him.
Yeah, and we don't know what, their thought process is. Last year, the thought, if he didn't get hurt, who knows how long he would have stayed there and, would have got how much leash he would have had when he came back, obviously with all those months in between and with them kind of figuring out, okay, we need outfield maybe a little bit more than a shortstop right now. It made sense. They don't have that problem here yet either. And realistically, Mookie has to stay in the infield because Teo's not going to play center, Conforto's not going to play center, and Mookie's not going to play center. Like Mookie could play center, but it's not going to be, elite center field. It'll be good center field.
Yeah. And a lot of it also comes down to the offensive side of things is like, like I said, Kike being able to play all over the field only helps if Kike can hit, because otherwise, obviously his defense helps, but he's a black hole in the lineup right now. Miguel Rojas is a black hole in the lineup. And also the batter after Mookie's error, Rojas made an error, which maybe lends credence to the idea that maybe it was a tough circumstance to field the ball today. And I saw people complaining about the middle infielders not catching the ball cleanly on the stolen bases. 2 of those were Rojas, 1 was Mookie. All 3 of the balls were short hop. They weren't great throws from Will Smith. If he gets those balls 6 inches farther in the air, that's probably 2 or 3 caught stealings. And that's not really on. I think all 3 of those are ones where the announcer would have said, oh, that's a really nice catch by Rojas there. Like it was above the ordinary, because of the throws. So that's things that like, it's just little things that when your team is struggling, you start nitpicking everything. And especially all of us here, you and me and everybody in the chat and everybody listening later, we all watch more Dodger games than other teams. And so we notice the Dodgers' weaknesses. And it's easy to assume these other teams don't have these weaknesses, or they don't struggle to throw strikes, or they don't struggle to make the easy plays, or they don't struggle to put the ball in play. And, that's why people are always amazed when you throw out stats, especially like 2 or 3 years ago. I remember people were just constantly harping on, oh, Dodgers have bases loaded. The inning's over. They're terrible. And they're literally the best team in baseball this year with bases loaded. But we just remember the failures. And so with Mookie Betts, I think there's so much confirmation bias going on right now, like I said, that we remember the failures. We remember the plays he doesn't make. And when he does make a play, it's like, okay, I forgot that already. Next time he misses one, though, I'll remember. And you forget that, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up watching Mariano Duncan and Jose Alfreman play shortstop for the Dodgers and making 35 to 40 errors a year. And it's like, you know what? Errors happen at shortstop sometimes. Yeah, those guys weren't good defensive shortstops, but they Yeah, I don't know. I sorry, I just sent myself in a tailspin thinking about Alfredo Griffin or Mariano Duncan and Jose Offerman playing shortstop. It's like I might need therapy now.
Yeah. So again, it's not a big problem right now. It is a 6-game stretch where it's been bad, and 4 of those games have been in different weather, whatever the case you want to put it on that. And the fact of the matter is, it's been compounded by the fact that some of these errors have happened when there are guys on base or in order to put guys on base. And one of those reasons is because the Dodgers pitchers have been walking guys at an alarming rate. So we're going to talk about that next. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters, and that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to better support health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all regularly tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. I got some Just Ingredients. I got my bag of pre-workout here, strawberry limeade. I have never been a guy that does pre-workout. Well, I haven't been a guy that works out that often anyways, but when I do, I like to rely on my natural energy. But Just Ingredients helps out with that natural energy because all the ingredients are natural and you still get that energy and you don't have to get, the different feelings that pre-workouts get you that maybe you don't like. And that's what I really like about Just Ingredients. And, whether it's getting pumped for a workout or helping, build those muscles in a different way or the way you want it to be or whatever the case is, Just Ingredients has those clean and transparent ingredients that give you all the benefits without the artificial junk. So visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for 20% off right now. And for more wellness tips, follow just.ingredients on Instagram. I want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, an everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate those of you that are everydayers. We recognize a lot of you here in the chat live on YouTube. And there's a lot of you at home that listen or watch in a different time. We appreciate you guys. And we're in season, so there's no reason not to be an everydayer. There's going to be Dodger stuff to talk about every day all the way until the end of October. So why not get in on the action right now? And you can go beyond the podcast, come Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text directly from us. Stay up to date with the Dodgers and join our exclusive Discord server and talk to other Dodger fans while games are going on. And, complain about the defense, complain about Dodgers pitching, giving up walks, because that's what has been an issue so far for the team. It's been exacerbated a little bit the last couple of days with Glasnow. And, Dustin May only walked 3 guys, which only is in quotation marks there. But those guys ended up coming around a score. And combine, walks with bad defense and guys not striking out a lot of people. And that's how some of these games are going for the Dodgers right now. And I don't know if that's an issue. They're striking out a lot of guys, but they're also walking a lot of guys, Jeff.
Yeah, they are. And, Dustin May's 3 walks, like you said, they're not the hugest deal, especially he only allowed 3 hits. So his whip for the game was 1.0, which is elite. Obviously the errors hurt him. And that's, when you do put runners on, whether it's by hit or error, and they come in bunches and are surrounded by errors, then yeah, you get some runs in. But again, like if you allow 1 base runner per inning, and you allow 3 runs in 6 innings, that's a good start. And so it's not so much an issue with Dustin May's start, but just overall, with Glasnow yesterday, walking the 4 guys in the 1 inning, probably due to the weather, but those ones count too. But
they didn't issue that many walks on the other side. That's the other part. It's just like,
yeah, of course they came out and fixed up the mound before the Phillies had to pitch. So, but yeah, I mean, most of this is Roki, Sasaki, and Blake Snell. Blake Snell, we knew what he was. We knew to expect some walks, and he has not let us down in that regard for our expectations. Roki Sasaki has had famously bad command in a couple of his starts, and so I would guess that the starters other than Snell and Sasaki, their walk rate is pretty reasonable. Not elite, obviously, but probably pretty reasonable. But the fact is Snell and Sasaki are pitching for the Dodgers, and Snell, it's probably something that's going to continue. He was asked when we found out today that he's been feeling something in his shoulder for a couple of weeks, and somebody asked him, "Do you think that affected your performance?" And he kind of he said, "I don't want to make any excuses, but you could tell that the rest of that sentence that he didn't say out loud was, yeah, it's probably affecting my performance." And we saw Roki Sasaki pitch better the other day, only walked 2 guys in 4 innings, which I guess is the same walk rate as 3 guys in 6 innings that Dustin May had. Still not great, but it's getting there. And so it's probably going to get better as Roki gets more comfortable, as Snell gets healthier. It's probably going to get better, but it's frustrating right now to just throw strikes, guys. Just especially when you see like Jack Dreyer coming in, it's like, oh, he's throwing strikes and he's getting outs, and you're like, why can't the starters do that? And I know baseball's not that easy, and so I don't say that out loud very often. But yeah, walks are frustrating as a fan.
I mentioned that the other day that there's nothing that frustrates me more than walks, and that's. I feel like, especially when I'm watching game, maybe not so much in the regular season, but postseason when it gets stressful, I assume every walk is leading to a run. And there's been times for the Dodgers where a walk does lead to a run, and maybe you get that confirmation bias, like, see, he walked the guy, now he scored. It probably doesn't happen that way a majority of the time, especially for the Dodgers, but it feels that way, and it feels more magnified in that moment. And that's kind of where we're at here. It's not more magnified because of what time of year it is. It's just more magnified because it seems to me, if you're just watching the game every day and maybe not getting deep into it, that every time the Dodgers pitchers walk somebody, it ends up hurting them. And obviously, when you compound that with multiple walks in an inning or in a game, then you're giving the other team more chances, especially when the Dodgers, especially Roki and Blake Snell, they haven't been hit hard. They've had guys on base, and then maybe defense didn't help them out a couple times. And, that whatever. I caught some flack for talking about Snell's outing last time and, putting a little bit of blame on him, not just on Max Muncy and the defense. And to me, it was mostly because you put guys on via walk. And that is what's going to frustrate me more than maybe some bad defense sometimes, is that, well, those other guys maybe couldn't have been on base if you didn't walk them. And that's really what it comes down to for me, especially if okay, maybe our defense isn't the strongest at the moment, then why would you want to put guys on base? And then if you get out of it, Blake Snell's a guy that's done this. He's put guys on base, and then he's gotten out of it, and he's kept his ERA relatively low, even if he doesn't go deep into games a lot of the time. But right now, if that's the case, is okay, maybe our defense isn't the best. Maybe I shouldn't be putting guys on in order to test that.
Yeah, you definitely got to get the strikeouts. If you're going to walk guys, you got to strike them out. And like you said, they do have the most strikeouts in baseball too, along with the most walks, which is why they're 9-3. All this doom and gloom. The Dodgers have a .750 winning percentage right now. Yeah, the last few games have sucked, but overall, they have had a good season so far. Very early in the season, 12 games into the season. We complain because our expectations are high, and we do want them to win every game, even though we know that's not realistic. What this is a 2-game losing streak. And fact is, they're going to have a 3-game losing streak at some point in the season. Hopefully not tomorrow, but some point this year, they're going to have a 3-game losing streak, and it won't mean they're a terrible team, and it won't mean that they have underlying flaws that can't be fixed, and it won't mean that the front office is terrible and Dave Roberts should be fired. It'll mean that sometimes baseball teams lose 3 games in a row. And I think the 2020 Dodgers never did lose 3 in a row that year, but that was only a 60-game season.
Yeah, I think one of the other teams went deep into the season without losing 3 in a row, but yeah, we're a daily Dodger podcast for the most part, other than weekends. So we're going to talk about the Dodgers, and sometimes it's going to be frustrating, and sometimes it's going to seem like, oh man, this was an episode where we didn't talk about a lot of positives. But ultimately, if you watch the show, you know that we're going to be more on the positive side, optimistic, bigger picture type deal. And at the end of the day, if health is going to play a biggest part into this team more than anything else. And obviously, if guys continue to struggle, that's going to be a bigger part of it. Kike has shown that he maybe can't handle an everyday spot. And, maybe that's, I don't think it'd be showing right now, but, that when Freddie gets back, Kike will be in his different spot, moving around. And, maybe that'll help his hitting. Who knows? Like, we don't know for sure what that is. Rojas and Barnes and guys like that, and Chris Taylor, we talk about them struggling on offense. And yeah, that's true at the moment and could be true the entire season, but it doesn't matter because they don't play that often in a 1 day span. Chris Taylor got a hit on Monday, and maybe not a lot of people would have expected that. So things happen in that regard, and for us as Dodger fans, there's a lot of talk right now. But like you said, they're 9-3. They're still going to be one of the best teams in baseball. And honestly, after last year, I don't know how you could watch the team and be extremely frustrated at the moment, just knowing that there is a lot of baseball left to be played.
Yeah. A couple things in chat I want to address. When I was talking about watching Jose Offerman and Mariano Duncan play, Richie Flores says, don't forget Justin Sellers. I looked it up. Justin Sellers only actually had 5 errors in 95 games played for the Dodgers. So, I try to forget Justin Sellers, but not because of his defense, just because that was a weird season that Justin Sellers was a starting shortstop for a while. Also, I saw Kenny Chung. Right before that. Matty Man Dodge said Miguel Rojas's fall is very glaring compared to last season. And for me, it's more like Miguel Rojas going back to who Miguel Rojas is. Like, this is one of the reasons that people said, well, just put Miggy at shortstop. And it's like, but Miggy can't hit. Even though he hit okay last year, he was never a good hitter. And he was never going to be a good hitter. He is what he is. And if his defense is not what it used to be, that's a bigger problem. But Miguel Rojas is a defensive player. He's not a good hitter. And he may occasionally have a decent half a season at a time, but he's not going to be a good hitter.
Yeah. So there are things that could be issues. And if we're sitting here in a month on May 7th and some of those things are still issues, we'll probably have already talked about it or talk about it for sure. The way the bench is set up right now is not ideal. There isn't very much hitting. And that means when you have to move guys around or give guys days off, your lineup is going to struggle a little bit. And without knowing who's going to play second or center at the moment, because nobody's really taking the reins offensively or defensively, then, that's one spot for sure that you just have no expectations of what you're going to get. And, that's going to be part of it. And then you take Freddie Freeman out of the lineup. That's another part of it. You have guys that are, playing in positions that they wouldn't normally play or being an everyday player when they wouldn't normally be an everyday player. So,
yeah.
Well, we'll see. The Dodgers can win the next 2, head into the weekend against the Cubs, and win all 3, and then we'll be praising the most gracious Dodgers that have done it to that point. So, Jeff, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, Dodgers are going to win tomorrow. I guess the good news is the Nationals closer is burned for the rest of the series. So, you
would think you would have been burned today. So,
yeah, it would have been so nice to steal this game and have him burned for the rest of the series. The Dodgers have done that to teams in the past. Didn't work out today. Their comeback fell short, but you would think he'd be done for the series, and hopefully that's good news. And the Dodgers won't have to face Mackenzie Corrigan in this series, and he is definitely better than whoever they're facing the next 2 games.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Make sure to check us out wherever we get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to find us where we get podcasts and on YouTube. And make sure to subscribe to get notified when episodes are ready when we're going live. You can check out MLB Game Night. Locked On Dodgers is your first listen or last listen of the day. But for another listen in your day, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can go beyond the podcast and Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can text directly with us and get notified when Dodgers updates are happening and get invited to our Discord server. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here. Lock 5625. We're every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. If you get in your car, if you're at home, text my advice podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.